Picture this. Your sim has heard talk of sorcery beyond anything they could comprehend, so they pack up everything they own and move to the beautiful neighbourhood of Glimmerbrook to learn more about the ways of the spellcaster. Excited to start their journey into magic and mischief, they head to the neighbourhood tavern to mingle with the locals, only to be met with this gloomy social club knockoff. Not exactly the establishment one would expect veteran spellcasters to be drinking their fun time potions at. The name Elixirs and Brews is the only thing remotely magical about this place, as the whole aesthetic just screams placeholder. It's drab, it's dreary, it's giving depression. So let's make it a bit more magical. And here we go with my first official build video for my channel. I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm a little out of my comfort zone with this because I am not a builder by any stretch of the imagination, but I hope you find this enjoyable nonetheless. So my original idea was I wasn't going to do much with the shell of the build, but I did want to include like a wizard tower turret thing, you know, think Hogwarts but without the transphobia. And the plan is that they're going to be the bathrooms. They're just going to be looking fancy, just so, you know, the wizard tower is at least functionable. And let me tell you, trying to figure out how to work curved walls was an absolute nightmare. They are not the easiest things to figure out. And I got there eventually, and I managed to do something that was, you know, relatively wizard tower-esque. And as I'm putting on the roof, making it all pointy, yes, very phallic, lovely, we love this. Be grateful that this has been edited down for your viewing pleasure, because the roofs in The Sims 4 are the bane of my existence. And this, trying to figure out what I wanted to do with the roofs themselves, took me the best part of half an hour to try and figure out, to have it not clipping going through as much. And eventually I got there, it looks fairly decent. And I don't know if you can tell, but I am spending a lot of time on the outside currently because I am heavily procrastinating and I do not want to start the inside anytime soon. But sadly, my procrastination had come to an end because the outside of the shell was mostly done and I had no excuse to start the inside. And with the place sufficiently lit, I made my first crippling decision of what door to use, and to save you the aggro, I just cut straight to the door I chose because you don't need to see me overthinking this and going through the entire back catalogue of doors I have. So I chose this one, but realised the walls were too high, so it looked a bit weird, and I made the wall smaller. And now you've come to my second overthinking, and which floor tile to use. If overthinking was an Olympic sport, your girl would be winning gold. Ironically, I didn't overthink the bathroom and went with my first choice. The same with the wallpaper, actually, from the Crystal Creation pack, and I actually really like this wallpaper and I kind of want it in my own home. Cue a whole load more of overthinking because I'm still not happy with the floor type, and spoiler alert, I don't even keep with this one. But for the time being, I try to make do and have all the swatches somehow match it, but obviously, as you can see, I'm not doing so well. Now, the archways I chose were too big for the build, as it turned out, because I shrunk the walls, so I went for this one instead. And again, spoiler alert, she doesn't stay around too long either. And after a little bit more indecision about the floor tiles, I finally found the one that was going to stay, and I tried to match the swatches as best I could, but after all, this is EA, and they are apparently allergic to keeping the same swatches. The bathroom was the easiest part of this whole build. It's like I went straight in, boom, 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 knew exactly what I wanted to do, was happy with the tiles straight off, was happy with the wallpaper straight off. Did have a little bit of trouble trying to figure out where to position the toilet, purely from, you know, a realistic plumbing stance, but then again, this is The Sims, and things like that don't actually matter. Whenever I build a communal lot, I never like the toilets just backing on right onto the main room. I always like to build like a little tiny hallway that will lead to the toilets, and this is what I'm doing currently. She's not very pretty, she's a bit basic, but, you know, she'll do the job. Bit like me in that sense, really. I found these bookshelf doors while I was having my indecision about building the main door, and I knew I wanted them for the bathroom. And then we come to the counters for the bathroom, and honestly, I had so much trouble trying to pick a nice one, but then I found the Life After Death pack and the sink and countertops that match, and oh, she was a winner. She went straight in there. Hit him with some lights, make it bright, keeping with the theme and the vibes. A couple of mirrors, some foliage. Probably going to get accosted by some plant leaves when you're taking a leak, but hey, it makes the place look nice. Do a little bit of decorating in the hallway, slap in a falcon bird, and boom, the bathroom, she is done. Honestly, the quickest of the whole build. Didn't have that much indecision with the windows, thankfully. I just copied the same swatch as the door, which is from the vampire pack. And thankfully, to my sheer delight, they come in 2 sizes, which is honestly a rarity for The Sims 4. Went with a sort of green theme for this build, so I made the trims green. I tried to make the stairs green, but they didn't work. Went with this grey for the time being, but once again, spoiler alert, that doesn't stay put. And I had the fun of trying to figure out what wall swatch I was going to put on the outside. I tried to do this wooden effect on the wizard tower, but it looked more like a barn silo, so she went away very quickly. And then I found this lovely stone one that came in a pale green swatch. Slap on a darker brick on the top of the build and on the wizard tower, and oh, she looked good. Really wasn't feeling the light colors on the decking, so I tried it with a darker swatch and I liked it a hell of a lot more, which then went to another level of overthinking and overguessing and trying to change all the columns, all the fences and the foundation to match the new decking swatch that I found. Slap in a couple more columns, mostly for decoration because they are not going to hold any sort of structural value. And the outside architectural bit, she's pretty much done. And now for the inside. I was originally going to go with the Realm of Magic bar, but realised she was kind of small. So I went for the much larger one from the Life After Death pack. And honestly, she felt a bit overcrowding. So eventually I went for the shorter one from there. And honestly, I think I prefer this a lot more. My goal for this build was I was just going to use a handful of packs. I wasn't going to have my full catalogue of build by. So I was just going to use Realm of Magic, all the occult packs that I had at my disposal at that time, Paranormal and Crystal Creations. But I realised in my haste that the archway I'd put in there originally was from the Growing Together pack. So she had to go immediately. So I went for this column and spandrel little concoction. I think that works just as well. I did go ahead and change this floor swatch in the main bar area just to make it all a little bit more cohesive and matching. Even made sure to get the same wallpaper in a different swatch for that back room, so it just segregates the two a bit better. So now we include more products from the Life and Death pack, even though this is meant to be a bar for the Realm of Magic pack. I actually really like these bar stools and I use them quite regularly if I can keep the camera still for 5 seconds so you can see them. Oh my god, let me talk to you a minute about countertops. I went through so many different countertops because God forbid The Sims would make a bar swatch that would match the in-game countertops. The original plan was I wanted to stretch the bar and have the counter going from wall to wall. But as you'll see eventually, I give up with that plan because I couldn't find a fecking counter that matched the bar swatch. Honestly, EA, sort yourselves out, lads. Still wasn't fully happy with how isolated the bar looked, so I incorporated a couple of columns and I tried to do a fun little spandrel thing again across the bar, and I think it looks really good. And then I had the ingenious idea. I know I said I was only going to use a certain amount of packs, but these string lights from the Hobbies and Business pack just worked so nice as like little bar decor, and she just brings the whole thing together. Soon you're about to see why I was heavily procrastinating the inside, because I don't know how to decorate. I just knew I wanted these paintings from the Paranormal pack. I really like these paintings quite a lot, but I don't know how to clutter. I don't know how to decorate. My go-to is if there's an empty corner, I'll just slap a plant in there. That seems to have worked for me so far, but I know it's not the right thing to do. Also, as an extra side note, do bar tables not actually exist in The Sims 4? Because I spent a lot of time going through the different surfaces, absolutely adamant that there was at least 1 or 2 different tall bar tables that I could put the bar stools at, but I just couldn't find any. And then the ones that did seem tall enough, the bar stools didn't want to clip to them. So, oh man, I've just noticed the butler's there. I didn't realise the butler statue existed in game. So when I found him, I was like, no, he's going to look really, really good in this build. So he's just over there clustering up one of the corners. Who needs plants when you have standing butlers? It was at this point that I was really starting to regret deleting all the spotlights because my god is it dark in this build. But as you can see, I found some tables. I think they're from the Paranormal pack. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, I can make them work. They're not the tall bar stools, the tall bar tables even that I wanted, but close enough. It was around this time that I got fed up of living in darkness, so I was trying to find some lights that would at least fit with the aesthetic of the build. But as you can see, there's far too many wall lights for my liking, especially too many of the same wall lighting. So to save you the aggro of me messing about and trying to find the ideal amount of proper wall lighting and ceiling lightings, I'm just going to click right to the lighting being finished. So ta-da, seamless. Also, I gave the butler a light to hold. I thought that was really funny. So with the main part of the bar now finished, I move on to the room that I will refer to as the parlour. I absolutely knew I was going to use the Realm of Magic fireplace because she's just a very, very pretty looking fireplace. Before I started to do anything monumentous in this room, I was just going through the decoration categories and just finding random pictures, random bits of clutter that I could put around the room. And while I was building, I had the idea that it would look really cool if I had some curtains that hung over this little archway, but I could not get any that fit until... Honestly, I'm really disappointed that my original audio didn't record because the level of excitement that came out of me because these damn curtains fit in the archway was... Honestly, I question about who the person I am becoming in my older years. And while I was at this height, I also remembered that ceilings are a thing in The Sims 4, so I had to quickly make do with that. Once again, here I am picking more furniture from the Life and Death pack, not that it's my favourite game pack or anything, and I decided I want to make this little space in the parlour like a cosy little book nook. And what is a book nook without some shelves? And honestly, it took me so long to try and get these to look regimented and to actually, you know, look fairly decent. And I'm pretty confident I got there eventually. It took some maneuvering, but we made it. We made it work. We'll just ignore the fact that they're currently clipping out of the wall. I didn't notice that originally. I also forgot to mention that I included a seance table as well, so that's fun for everyone. And with some final minor nudging and adjusting, that is the parlour done too. And now it's just time to clutter and decorate, which is honestly my least favourite thing to do. All the power to the people that can do this, because I just can't make clutter look good. It doesn't matter what I try or how many years I've been doing it. It just looks forced and crap. Someone teach me how to clutter properly, because I'd take lessons for it. And with the inclusion of a cheeky little tarot deck on the coffee table in the parlour, that is the parlour majority done. I do come back to her a bit later on, so don't you worry. And now I try to put my focus onto the main bar area, which honestly I was dreading. The one thing I knew I wanted to do is I wanted to make that back wall a statement wall. So I wanted to make it a different colour to the rest of the room, and I think it works really well with the brick. It's actually the same brick that's on the outside of the building, and it's almost like I did it on purpose and it wasn't just a happy coincidence at all. I've done another little time skip ahead because you do not need to see me struggling to clutter this place. I'm still not fully happy with it, as you can tell, and I'm trying to reclutter in the parlour too. Just add a little bit more je ne sais quoi to the space, and it's looking a little more like je ne sais nah. Remember when I said that all I do when I find an empty corner is just slap a plant in there? Well, you're about to see a hell of a lot of foliage suddenly appear. I added a couple of little sideboards onto that back wall, and then I decided to use the tarot pictures from, once again, the Life and Death pack, and just make like a little mural on the... Mural? Anyway, I stuck pictures on a wall, and that's all you really need to know. And with the inclusion of a couple of more debug items that I tend to add at the end of my builds, this room was pretty much done. And she's looking nice, I gotta be honest. Even though the parlour was mostly done, I was still struggling with the main portion of the bar. It doesn't matter how many pictures I slapped on the wall or how many plants I stuffed in the corner, nothing just seemed to be working for me. This back wall, especially with the TV on, she was the bane of my existence for a time because it just doesn't seem to be anything that was working until I thought about matching it to the wall opposite and having like a little segmented moment with some columns and some brick wallpaper. That was it. I was happy. That was the missing touch. And with the final inclusion of a little coat rack by the door, she was done. She was majority done. I still wanted to go through with all the debug stuff, but I was pretty happy with how this turned out. And with some more debug items added to the parlor, she was pretty much done on the inside. And obviously I was procrastinating because that meant I had to landscape, and I hate landscaping just as much as I hate cluttering, if not more. The only thing I ever really use debug for is the plants and the rocks and, you know, the nature side of stuff. Because I had this big empty wall here that I just didn't know what to put in. So I just, again, went to my old trick of just slap a plant in the corner. But there was one thing I definitely knew I wanted to do out here, and that was I wanted to create some sort of like growing ivy effect on the wizard tower. And oh boy, was that a nightmare to do. I will save you the trouble and with the power of editing go straight to how it looks when it was finished, because I spent far too long trying to get this ivy to bloody work. Ta-da! Once again, seamless. Slapped in a couple of windows on the tower and one on the front that is purely just for decoration purposes. At the back of the build, I just put the bare essential, bare basics, because who looks at the back of a build anyway? I also did include a little firefly square from the cottage living pack, so the fireflies will all float around that tree, which I thought would be lovely. Oh, and then here we come to trying to figure out what terrain paint this is so I can match it. Good grief. I'll just fast forward this for you. And with that last little bit of terrain paint added to the build, she was 100% finished. Honestly, I'm really proud of how she turned out. From gloomy and depressing to magical and whimsical. Honestly, I'm going to pat myself on the back with this one because she is looking beautiful. Probably a little bit of a darker color scheme than I originally intended. I wanted to go light and airy, but honestly, I think it works. It gives Dungeons and Dragons, and I'm all for that. I had a lot of fun doing this, I'm not going to lie. And I might even consider doing some more in the future. Let me know, what do you think? Did I make it better? I mean, let's be honest, I couldn't have made it worse. Are there any other communal lots that you think need a revamp? Let me know down in the comments and I'll take a look at them. But until next time, thanks for watching. Why is he looking at me like that?